WCIA 3 News at noon.
President Biden just arrived in Illinois. Air Force One touched down at the airport moments ago at O'Hare. Thanks for joining us. I'm Karina Rubio. The president plans to deliver a speech at a community college in the suburbs later this afternoon. Our Capitol Bureau Chief, Mark Maxwell, is live on the tarmac at O'Hare. Mark, what's the scene there?
Karina, Marine helicopters roared in loud and low just moments ago to clear the tarmac and prepare the way for the landing of Air Force One. President Biden stepping off to greet some top dignitaries. Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle making up the welcoming committee. The president then chatted with them for just a few quick minutes and quickly took off on one of those Marine helicopters, the press heading behind him, the press pool there. Biden plans to highlight the beginnings of an economic rebound from COVID-19 later this afternoon as he lays out his plan to, quote, build back better in Crystal Lake. That's where Governor Pritzker will meet the president. We're told they plan to sit down for a private meeting. President Biden wants to highlight his investments in infrastructure. There are Republican critics panning that as wasted money, but also Republicans calling on the president to address the flurry of gun violence in Chicago this weekend. Just this morning, two federal agents and a Chicago police officer caught up in that violence shot this morning. There are reports that President Biden may address that. We plan to tune into his speech later on. He should be arriving in the suburbs at his location there in about an hour and a half or two. Reporting in Chicago, Mark Maxwell, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
All right, Mark, thank you. Now in other news, state police are investigating after a man was shot while driving down the interstate in Urbana. They say a 22-year-old man from Rantoul was shot while on I-74 near Lincoln Avenue. He is expected to survive. Gun violence wasn't on the agenda for Champaign City Council last night, but it was a topic of concern. Several people spoke during public comment about the violent weekend in Champaign. They addressed why gun violence is happening and told the council different ways to stop it. They suggested hiring more officers and raising officers' pay. Last month, Back the Blue Champaign County spoke to council about respect for police. They were back again to talk to the council about their concern for officer safety. Amber Oberheim, the wife of fallen officer Chris Oberheim, also spoke during that meeting.
Please think about how you're showing up. This isn't about you. It's much, much bigger.
She went on to say she hopes to see action from the council. The Piatt County Sheriff's deputies are investigating after a man was found dead inside a car. The body of 45-year-old James Warren from Monticello was found Sunday night. The car was next to a cornfield 7 miles northwest of Atwood. Piatt County deputies, the coroner, and state police are investigating his cause of death. Decatur Police Chief Jim Getz announces his retirement today. In a written statement, Chief Getz said he wanted to thank everyone in the community who supported the department. He also thanked them for, quote, giving me the opportunity to serve as chief of police in the city I grew up in. His retirement is effective at the end of this month. Dozens of parents are scrambling to find new daycare options at the end of next month. The Macon Resources Kids Connection is planning to close down its daycare program. It includes services for kids with special needs. State records show Illinois spent $9 million last year on 12 contracts with Macon Resources. The contracts are for providers who care for adults and children with severe disabilities. Most of those programs will continue, but the group's CEO confirmed she does plan to shut down the daycare and respite programs for a few dozen children. We spoke with several of their parents who were upset and desperate to find a place with the specialized staff who can provide quality care for their kids. The nonprofit CEO told us she feels a new expanded program at Decatur Public Schools could take over when she closes her program next month.
We've lost money every year in the daycare, okay? We're not dumping that program. It's the school district's going to do it. And they do this every day, and they have educated people with bachelor's degree who can teach people because that's the kids they work with all day, okay? I have them 2.5 hours a day, okay? So it's not like we're dumping it and then we're getting rid of them and we're dumping the program. It's not like that.
Macon Resources will continue its group home and adult daycare and development programs for people with disabilities. The CEO says they want to focus on expanding that care. 2020 was the busiest year for the Illinois National Guard since World War II. Troops were deployed all over the state. Brigadier General Chris Lawson would have helped in organizing all of those efforts, but he retired shortly before the pandemic was first reported. Shortly after, he found out he had some serious health issues. WCIA3's Cole Hankey has that story.
Chris Lawson served as an Illinois National Guardsman for 33 years. In 2019, he turned down a job that would have him overseeing operations for the National Guard in southern and central states. He chose instead to retire and spend time with his new wife. But something was wrong.
I found out that I had a complex liver disorder. It was based with hemochromatosis, and I needed a liver transplant, or I had about 2 years.
And then in December of 2020, Lawson's wife found out she had colon cancer. Lawson spent the majority of the pandemic bedridden. He watched from afar as the Illinois National Guard manned missions all over the world. Those are missions that he would have helped organize only a few months prior.
I'm retired. I still am very much aware of what they do because I was chief of staff in Illinois and the operations director. So I live this inside of Illinois.
The National Guard was often at the center of an unprecedented year. Not only did the Guard help protect the state and national capitals during President Biden's inauguration, but they helped staff the majority of state-run testing, vaccination, and hospital efforts during the pandemic.
For the busiest year we've had, really going back to World War II.
Through the entire fight, Lawson knew both he and the Illinois National Guard were up for the fight. Just like when he was deployed, he drew his strength from his fellow Guards people.
Our young men and women of Illinois are signing up to do that, and it's remarkable when you think about it. It inspires me every day.
Lawson is recovering and doing much better now. He had a liver transplant in March and is continuing treatment out in Washington, D.C. Expanding access to health care is the goal of a new law. The law expands mental health resources and provides support for veterans, tobacco addiction programs, coverage of kidney transplant medications regardless of where you live, and help for those experiencing an opioid overdose. It also expands emergency Medicaid coverage.
The many Illinoisans who suddenly found themselves in need of Medicaid coverage in the face of COVID-19 now won't find the rug pulled out from under them just because our lives are starting to feel a bit more normal.
Immigration advocate groups in the Latino caucus celebrated the plan for providing kidney transplant medication for undocumented people. One organization has a new place to help those who are now out of prison. First Followers Drop-In Center is now on Cottage Court in Champaign. It used to be at Bethel AME Church, but donations and grant money were able to pay for a new drop-in center. The space gives people resources like employment and housing referrals.
It's just essential to have these type of spaces and provide these type of services so the individuals can get back acclimated into the community and be, just be part of the community.
The center is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 until 5. Leaders are hoping to expand hours with the new location. And on the trip to speed on the news, we'll check in with Jack. Lucked out over the weekend, but things are starting to shift already.
That's right.